Hello everyone, welcome back to the Budget Sportsman. Thank you so much for joining me on today's video. A couple of weeks ago, this box showed up at my house from Custom Gear Modification with a bunch of their new products, and I'm pretty excited about them. Some of them you're going to get full reviews on later in the summer, but there's some small items in here as well that I thought would be fun to just sort of show you in more of a rapid fire review, sort of unboxing type of situation. Now, I want to be clear up front. I did not buy any of these products. This box was entirely sent to me for free from Custom Gear Modification, but I hope you know me by now. I'm going to do my very best to give you my fair, unbiased, and honest opinions, although today's not so much of a review as much as it is an unboxing. The first thing that I want to show you, the thing that I'm most excited about, in fact, I reached out to Custom Gear Modification and asked if I could get my hands on this. This is the new Moccasin Saddle from Custom Gear Modification. It comes in at $152. Now, that is not necessarily the cheapest saddle on the market. However, to my knowledge, and I'm not trying to make any blanket statements, I'm certainly not aware of every price of every saddle, but to my knowledge, this is the cheapest American-made saddle. Okay, there are some cheaper ones that are made overseas, but this is American made. Right inside has a big tag, made in America. I've been in the shop of Custom Gear Modification where they sew these saddles with love, family-owned business. And I have to tell you, I've been a fan of Custom Gear Modification since the beginning with the Sidewinder. I've been a fan of the way they're trying to keep things as budget-friendly as they can. Of course, inflation hits them the way it hits the rest of us. But this is a slimmed down, trimmed down. You don't have some of the same features that you would have in the Sidewinder, but it's still a very, very quality saddle. And I started to say I've been a fan of them from the beginning, but over the years, I've just seen an increase in just the attention to detail, in the quality, in little accents like the orange accent here for your lineman's loops, just to be able to get that little bit of extra visibility, or for your leg loops. And this is a really cool saddle for $157. I'm looking forward to spending some time with it and giving you a full review later on in the summer. Now, the next items that I want to show you, I also requested these as well because I've had my eye on these for a long time. These are the side pouches from Custom Gear Modification. You know, I've got a number of different saddles that I hunt with, but very few pouches, and the ones that I have used in the past, I've not been a fan of, so I'm excited to try these out in the coming season. There is a large size here in this hand. This is the large, and that sells, I believe, for $57. So it is, a bit more pricey when you compare it to a budget-friendly saddle, but these are really nice. I'll show you more about them in a minute. Then there's also a small size for $45. These have tabs on the back to put in your molly. They also have a little elastic piece here with a toggle that you can put down if you have a lower row of molly to keep that thing from flapping around. Has a front zippered pocket here, and inside it has some sort of neon, sort of soft material, but that's going to help the visibility inside that pouch. There's also a small pouch right here down the side. Maybe it would be good for like maybe a small flashlight or a knife. And then inside you've got this big zippered compartment. Again, inside you've got some of this brighter colored material, and then you also have a mesh pocket right here as well to kind of make a little bit of a divider. These pouches are really nice. When you order them, you are going to want to order either a left or a right, and that has to do with the orientation of the zipper. So this would go on the left side with the zipper coming down the front. You can see the zipper comes across the top and down the front. It does not come all the way around the back, and so you're going to want that probably in the back side to be able to reach in the front and grab your gear. This one, obviously, the small one for me is oriented for the left side. And this one is the large. It's oriented for the right side. Again, you can see that with the zipper coming down the front. The layout is the same. Pocket on the front, pocket here, mesh internal. So pretty much the same. Again, you have the tab on the back. I did want to demonstrate to you, if you wanted to put in rappel rope, this is 40 feet of rappel rope, and it fits nicely in the large size. I tried stuffing it in the small, and it's a pretty tight fit. So if you want something that can fit a rappel rope, it's going to be the large size for you probably. Now there is a little bit of excess in here. I probably could fit it in the small, but you would just be fighting it, I believe. If you just had maybe a tether or lineman's rope and you don't have a long rappel rope, then the small might be best for you. The next thing I want to take a look at here is this back band from Custom Gear Modifications. I believe this is called the LBS panel, and I'm pretty sure that stands for lower back support. It's a nice wide panel. It's going to give you a lot of support on your lower back. It's really interesting is that it has a row of molly across here. And that may not make sense for a backband until maybe I explain it more in a moment. One of the things you're going to see is there's no strap to this. Most backbands are going to come with a strap, and that strap is going to go up to the carabiner where your bridge and your tether connect. Instead, this panel comes with a couple of pieces of AM steel, and the idea is that you actually attach it to your saddle. And it can live on your saddle all of the time and essentially turn any single panel saddle into basically a double panel saddle where you're going to be able to adjust the amount of pressure you get on that backband, but you're also going to be able to adjust the angle of that pressure versus having it come up high. You're going to be able to adjust that pressure forward and give you the pressure in the area or the support in the area and the way that you need. This comes in at $57, and we're going to be looking at this more when I do my review on the Moccasin Saddle to see if maybe this combination would make a really awesome, basically two-panel saddle for a cheaper price. So recently, Custom Gear Modifications has started offering some 3D printed accessories, and I've got a couple of them here on the table. Let's start with the bow holder. This bow holder is going to come in at $12, and it's very unique in that you can mount it in a couple of different orientations. It's got multiple different holes so that you can use either AM steel or maybe a small diameter rope if you wanted to use that as your gear hanger. Or it also has slots that you can use a 1-inch webbing slot. What's really interesting is that you can use it in this orientation if you want to, with sort of the long arm out from the tree, or you can actually turn it and use the short arm out from the tree if you prefer it that way. So it's kind of a unique system with multiple different attachment methods and multiple different orientations, and it's going to come in again at $12. Next up are these two hooks, and for a lot of Custom Gear Modifications products, they have some sort of a fancy name, but when I looked on the website, all I could really find is hooks. These would be useful to put in your molly. They've got a hook back here you'd put in the molly of your saddle, and it would allow you to carry gear or accessories up the tree. There's a small and a large. The large is $12, and the small is $10. I want to give you a reference here. For instance, if you were going to try to carry a platform up the tree, here's the Hunt Arsenal Razor. This is the small hook, and you can probably see that it's a very small gap, about the width of maybe my pinky here, to get down into the hook. The razor here is very thin, and it's going to sit down over there just nicely. There's no issue getting in and out of there at all. I should also point out that it has this bungee and a little bit of a tab up here where you can put it over to make sure your gear is going to stay in there and not fall out. If we move to something like the Predator platform from Tethered, it's not going to slide down in that gap straight up and down, but if you rotate it, it will go down and rotate it down again, and it's going to fit in that small one just fine. That is going to keep it from bouncing out all on its own, but you are going to have to rotate it and get it up around to get it out of there. Now, the larger one, of course, that's got a much wider gap here, almost 2 fingers width, and so I can easily just drop anything I want in there. And of course, I've got the bungee cord to hold it in place as well. All right, next up are the CGM Tether finger savers. See what I mean? Finger savers, hook. Anyways, these are made if you climb the tree with your tether. Perhaps you one stick, or perhaps you have a climbing platform and you climb with a tether, or perhaps you are using sticks but you just like to climb with a tether rather than a lineman's belt. Well, one of the dangerous parts about that is when your rope is girth hitched around the tree and you need to advance the rope up the tree. Well, if you stick your fingers inside of that rope and you get it inside between the rope and the tree, if you were to fall, you could actually have all of your weight holding your fingers in there, and you might actually get yourself in a really dangerous situation where you can't get your hands out. And maybe if you've slipped and fallen off a stick or something like that, and you can't actually get your weight off of that rope, your fingers could be stuck in there and end up being quite serious. The idea behind these is that you put your tether through these holes, around the other side, through the holes on the other side, and essentially this gives you a little bit of a handle where you can grab onto that rope without sticking your fingers up under the rope. Not only that, it also gives you a little bit of a wider connection point where you actually can grab this rope at essentially 4 different places just by using your 2 hands, and you can sort of pull that rope apart, move it up the tree, and then tighten back your rope again. These, I believe, are sold as a set of 2, and they come in at $18. All right, the last item in the box is this product right here. This is called the Crab Grapple. No, not the crab apple, the Crab Grapple. And it is, again, a 3D printed item, but it is spring-loaded. You can see the shape of the hook, but you can actually twist it, and it's going to spring-load and lock into place. So now you've got these 4 hooks. Obviously, this is for you on that early morning when you drop your glove out of the tree and your hand is freezing, or maybe you dropped your release, whatever it is, you can hook this to maybe your bow rope or attach it to some sort of a small pull-up rope, and you can send this down there to try to snag that item that you dropped out of the tree. This is pretty cool. I really like how it folds up nice and flat. And you can throw that in your pack in case of emergency. I'll be honest, I've never needed one of these, but I'm sure now that I've said I've never needed one, I'm going to need it for sure now. So pretty cool little product. The Crab Grapple is $28. All right, well, I just want to say a big thank you to Custom Gear Modifications for sending over this gear for me to check out, and a big thank you to you for watching the video. If you're interested in any of these products, I'll leave a link to the Custom Gear Modification website down in the description below. And remember, later on in the summer, I do intend to do a more in-depth and complete review of the budget-friendly Moccasin Saddle, as well as that LBS lower back support panel as well. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, I'd love to know what you think down in the comments. Maybe give the video a thumbs up. And until next time, remember to get off YouTube and get outdoors into God's great creation.